What if I told you you're missing the most important years of your life, and it's not an accident? Before the age of 3, your brain was learning faster than it ever will again. You were recognizing voices, understanding emotions, even predicting what might happen next. In fact, scientists have shown that even babies can form real memories. So the question is, if those memories existed, why is it all gone? Here's where it gets strange. It's not because your brain was too weak. It's because it was too powerful. While you were learning how to exist, your brain was rapidly rebuilding itself, creating new cells and forming new connections every moment. And in the process, it may have been quietly overwriting everything you experienced. Which means your first memories didn't just disappear. They were sacrificed so your brain could become what it is today. And once you realize that, you start to wonder, how much of you had to be erased just to create the person you are now? In 1905, Sigmund Freud first gave a name to this strange gap in human memory, infantile amnesia. But later science made one thing clear. Babies are not blank. They can form memories, and they actually do. In the 1980s, psychologist Carolyn Rovee-Collier showed this in a simple experiment. She tied a ribbon to a baby's ankle and connected it to a mobile above the crib. When the baby kicked, the mobile moved. The babies quickly learned this connection. Kick, and something happens. And when they were tested again days later, they still remembered. They started kicking right away, showing that the memory was still there. Even very young babies, around 2 months old, could keep this memory for a short time. By 6 months, they could remember it for weeks. So this tells us something important. Babies can learn, store, and even recall information. But here comes the real mystery. If memories are formed so early, why do we lose them completely later in life? By adulthood, those early memories are gone. Not blurry, just missing. One big reason is how the brain develops. Deep inside the brain is a small structure called the hippocampus. This is the part that builds and organizes memories. It takes real experiences, like a birthday, a sound, or a simple moment, and turns them into memories you can replay later in your mind. In adults, the hippocampus works with other brain areas to store and retrieve these memories in a stable way. But in babies, this system is still growing. The connections between brain regions are not fully built. And important parts, like the dentate gyrus, which helps process new memories, are not fully developed until around age 2 to 4. So a baby's brain can capture moments, but it cannot properly lock them into long-term storage. They form, but they fade quickly. And still, this is not the full explanation. Because what comes next is even more unexpected. Because in 2014, 2 neuroscientists in Toronto changed how we understand infant memory. Sheena Jocelyn and Paul Franklin proposed a surprising idea at the Hospital for Sick Children. What if the same process that builds your brain is also what makes you forget? To understand this, they looked at something called neurogenesis. This is the process where the brain creates new neurons. In early life, it happens at a very high speed. These new neurons are important. They help build the brain's future wiring and shape how you will think, learn, and remember as an adult. But there's a trade-off. When new neurons join existing brain circuits, they can disturb older connections. And those older connections are where early memories are stored. To test this idea, researchers used mice. When they increased neurogenesis in adult mice, those mice started losing memories they had already formed. But when they reduced neurogenesis in baby mice, the infants were able to hold onto memories for longer than usual. These results, published in the journal Science, led to a powerful conclusion. The infant brain is not weak. It is simply in a constant state of construction. In other words, the brain is growing so fast that it keeps rewriting itself. The same process that builds new pathways may also overwrite older ones. So early memories are not necessarily never stored. They are more likely replaced as the brain develops new structure over time. But there is still another layer to this mystery. To create what scientists call autobiographical memory, the ability to remember events as something that happened to you, you need a sense of self. You must understand that you are a separate person experiencing the world. Developmental psychologists Mark Howe and Mary Courage suggested that this sense of self develops later in early childhood. One famous test shows this clearly. A small mark is placed on a baby's face, and they are shown a mirror. Before about 18 months, most infants treat the reflection like another baby. They do not react to the mark on their own face. But after this age, something changes. They begin to recognize that the reflection is themselves. And that moment is closely linked to when stable, personal memories begin to form. They begin to recognize that the reflection in the mirror is themselves. And that simple moment marks something important, the early formation of self-awareness. Researchers notice something interesting here. This stage of self-recognition happens around the same time children start forming their earliest stable memories about their own life. In other words, memory and identity seem to grow together. This leads to a strange idea. You can't clearly remember being a baby because, in those early months, the you that organizes memories like a personal story was not fully developed yet. There was experience, yes. But there wasn't yet a strong inner voice turning those experiences into a continuous story about me. And that raises a deeper question. If your brain was still building your sense of self, and later rewired itself so heavily in early development, then what exactly connects you to that early version of life? Is it still you in the same continuous way you feel today? Or is it more like a version of you that existed before the current you fully formed? Then comes another important piece of the puzzle: language. Developmental psychologist Catherine Nelson spent years studying how memory becomes long-lasting. Her findings suggest something surprising: language doesn't just describe memory, it helps shape it. Before children can speak, their experiences are stored in a very raw form: sounds, colors, feelings, textures, emotions. Everything is lived, but not yet organized. Without words, these experiences don't have a clear structure to attach to. They exist briefly, then fade. But once language begins to develop, everything changes. When children start talking about their past, especially when adults guide them with questions like "Do you remember when we went to the park?" their ability to form lasting memories becomes much stronger. Language gives memory structure. It turns scattered experiences into organized stories. Without it, memories are like water without a container, present for a moment, then gone. And this isn't just theory. Research by psychologist Chi Wang at Cornell University shows that memory is also shaped by culture. In Western cultures, where parents often talk with children about past events and build personal stories, the earliest memories usually begin around age 3.5. But in cultures like the Maori of New Zealand, where storytelling and personal history are deeply emphasized, people often report earlier first memories, sometimes around 2.5 years old. In some East Asian cultures, where childhood stories focus less on the individual and more on shared experiences, people often report their first memories much later, around age 4 or even beyond. This shows something powerful: memory is not only biological, it is also shaped by culture. The way you are raised can actually influence how far back your personal memories go. So when we look at early childhood as a whole, a clearer picture begins to form. Your brain structures responsible for memory were still developing. The hippocampus was not fully ready to store long-term experiences. And even when it began functioning, the brain was changing so quickly that new neural growth may have disrupted older memory traces. At the same time, there was no strong sense of self yet, no clear inner identity to organize experiences into a personal story. And without language, those early moments had no stable structure to hold onto. It wasn't one single reason. It was all of them together. That's why every human being goes through the same strange gap. Everyone has a blank space where the earliest years should be. Every person you know carries that same hidden silence at the start of life. And maybe the real explanation isn't that the brain failed. It's that, during those years, the brain was focused on something even bigger than memory itself. It was building the system that would eventually become you.